off by congratulating you on such an amazing album. This is an absolute masterpiece, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're happy with it. It's like crazy times, and I mean the last 2 years been crazy creative, but yeah, I'm happy it's paying off. You know, people seem to love it, so it's awesome.
Now, I'll talk to you a little bit about the creativity a little bit later, but did you have a goal in mind as a band when you went into this album of something that you wanted to achieve this time around?
I mean, boring answer, and same aim for every album is to make better songs. We're super song driven in terms of creativity, so that was just it. And at the same time, we started writing this album the day after the Escape of the Phoenix album was released. So for us, it's just been a long creative recording process since the beginning of the writing Escape of the Phoenix album. So it's like, I mean, it's I think the first Save Us single came out 11 months after the album came out for Escape of the Phoenix. So it's like usually 2.5 years in between albums, and now it was like 11 months. So it's we never have any other aims than writing great songs.
Was that fast turnaround from the last album, was that mostly because you guys couldn't go out on the road and tour?
Exactly, and because we also made that clear decision quite early that I said to the guys that I don't see us touring for at least a year, so we might as well use that time as anybody else in the world and work our asses off with the time we have been sort of handed for free, that a time that we never have otherwise, you know. So it would be sort of super unintelligent to not use it in the best way possible. So yeah.
Yeah. How weird has the last 2 years been? Like, for me, living in a country that was in a severe lockdown, it kind of felt surreal, but it felt like you didn't miss a lot of things because you couldn't go out and do things. But for you, you live in a country that was left relatively open but couldn't tour. Did that make things even stranger?
Now, I also live right out by the coast, so very far from any sort of, not very far, but far from a civilization that is hectic and influenced by the fact that I meet people every day. I meet people if I go to the store. Otherwise, if not, I could walk around out here by the coast in 6 months on the winter side of the year and never meet anyone. So for me, it's not been any different than that of touring, you know. So.
Yeah, I think, that's what I was trying to ask. Like, did that make it feel weirder because you couldn't tour? Whereas for people in countries like Australia, where we had a 500-day lockdown, it felt less strange because we couldn't even go to the park during that time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that, outside of touring, I'm not sort of doing anything other than being in the studio. So for me, it's like... the only thing that was weird is not touring after an album. Of course, that is extremely weird, and now we have to sort of make up for that by touring for 2 albums instead. So, but outside of that, I was just given a lot of time to be creative, which has been a blessing more than anything else for me.
Yeah, no, I know from speaking to you previously, nature is a very big thing that sparks your creativity. What kind of things were sparking your creativity this time around?
I mean, I think every album from Evergrey is a sort of timestamp of the period of that exact time that we're going through. So I guess in maybe hindsight, in 5 years, we will could look at this album and see that it sounds like this because of the fact that we were in this pandemic state and also been affected by the war going on in Europe now, and you know, so. But that's been the fact since day one, since our first release. So it's everything from feeling tranquil and small in the world to being super affected by madmen from Russia. You know, it's all of that stuff.
What did it feel like for your creativity not to have that rush that you would normally get from having to put together an album while you're on tour and things like that? Did that make it feel different because you had that extra time to just relax and write?
Very much so. But I mean, as I said, we never write on tour at all.
Yeah.
I think I wrote one riff in 20 years on tour. So from that aspect, it was not that different. But the main difference was that we had time to contemplate after we wrote the song. Is this really what the song should be? Is this exactly how I want to spend my time writing the solo? You know, all of these things. And for me, I would say that the biggest difference was in my guitar playing. I had time to write my solos in guitar solos in a way where I felt 100% content with the sort of ability that I had at the time, and also making sure that came out pouring through my fingers onto the fretboard and into your ears. So yeah.
Some people might say that overthinking could be a problem as well. How did you make sure that you didn't go into that space where you were overthinking what you had just recorded or what you would just put down on paper?
I think overthinking is a problem if you're not in control of your mind. I think you really have to overthink music. I have overthought music for since the start of my career. It's the most important thing I have. I think it through. I have 1 million ideas of a song in order how to interpret it and make it exactly the way I want it. But I'm only doing it to please myself, you know.
Yeah.
So, if you think that Evergrey albums are sounding too polished or too thought through, or well composed, and have a problem with that, then yes, maybe Evergrey is not for you. And but I would think that almost anyone outside of playing punk music, which is supposed to be this raw, immediate drive, really overthinks everything they do in terms of music. Look at Bruce Springsteen, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's like,
with the extra time that you had this time around, did you actually spend longer in the studio itself, or do you feel that you spent longer writing the tracks before you got into the studio?
For us, it sort of goes hand in hand. For us, it's like we record, and I record my vocals and my vocal ideas and guitars and everything at the same time as writing them. We recorded them. The only thing we do afterwards is we record drum and bass, the real drum and bass, on top of already set backing tracks, So for Johan and Jonas to go in, they record together live in the studio. It's great because they have everything, They have everything from vocals to solos to lay down their grounds on. So it's a great way for us to work. It's really illogical to start with the drums, to be honest. Well, everybody should adapt to the drums. Well, the first thing you hear in a song is the vocals, right? So
yeah.
Maybe everything should be adapted to the vocals, And that's the way we've been working for the last 5 albums, I think.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned about next time you go out on tour, you have to tour for 2 albums. That's going to make the set list very interesting. How are you guys looking at doing that and doing a set list that's going to keep the audience happy?
I think the way to keep everybody happy is to keep ourselves happy at first, Also, being in a band that's been around for almost 30 years now, we can't play songs from every album. If we would play like the video singles from every album, that would be a too long set already,
Yeah.
So right now we're promoting albums that are doing great for us, and also the last 4 albums of Evergrey are the biggest albums we have ever released commercially. So for us, we have to sort of give the audience what the audience wants. And yes, we have fans that have been us since day one. At the same time, we also have to bring in the new ones, So we're going to concentrate on playing songs from the last 3 to 4 albums, and then keep 2 to 3 classics Evergrey songs that we never can sort of exclude from a set list,
Definitely. Now, a lot of people are going to notice that this is your first album with Napalm Records. Tell us a little bit about how that relationship happened with Napalm, and does things feel any different for you now?
I mean, I think there comes a time when you work with people and like a record label especially. I mean, I think we switched labels 6 or 7 times during the career, and I think it's important for people to stay on top of things and get eager and excited to not stagnate and to not stay in the same relationship as long as possible. I think it worked well every time we switched. It's been a big upgrade for us, and not saying that I was particularly discontent with AFM. They were probably the best label we have had up until that point, but now everything feels great and feels like we got new blood into the system. Napalm feels like they have a younger crew working the label, and when they feel in the now and contemporary and have their grasp of social media and things that I am not interested in learning for the third time around.
Yeah.
They have a grasp of that. So I'm eager to see where they can bring these albums, and that we sign with them. And so far, it looks great with the first initial reactions to Save Us and Midwinter Calls that are, making waves everywhere.
Definitely. Now, the album comes out on May 20th, so it's a little way away at the moment. Is this the most frustrating time for you as a musician when you've finished the album? Like you said before, you guys are really happy with it, but you can't release it to your fans yet?
But I mean, at the same time, we have released 2 singles now, and we have one more on the way before the album comes out. So it's a great warm-up period for us to sort of get people excited for the album. And at the same time, we just released another album before that. So it's like we're in releasing mode. We're just recording music videos and preparing them to for the world, to get excited about A Heartless Portrait. So no, it's not that frustrating.
Yeah.
It's more frustrating to not have the time to prepare like the live sets and stuff like that more than anything.
Yeah. So looking forward to the future for this year, what have you got planned as a band for the rest of this year? And I know our listeners would be very angry if I didn't ask this question. Will you guys look to tour in Australia sometime as well?
Dude, we're just waiting for somebody to invite us to Australia, and then we will be there in a heartbeat.
Yep.
I mean, I can't even remember when we were there last. So, and outside of that, we're starting our European tour in September. And then I guess we're going to do this for a while, play live on every continent. Hopefully we come to Australia in there somewhere. And then in 2 years' time or so, it's time for the next album.
Definitely. Well, we are running out of time very, very quickly. So to finish off, I'll just ask, what would you like to say to all of your Australian fans out there before they get a chance to sit down and listen to this amazing album?
I think it's going to be a blast for you to sort of step into this, I wouldn't say the same world as Escape of the Phoenix, but the continuation where we left you with the Escape of the Phoenix, and just keep on going. Same positive energy and hungry feel that I feel that we had when we wrote it. Hope that you will hear when you listen to it. And then, write to your local promoters and demand us to come there, and we will be there. That's a promise.